This is 1-inch diameter, 4-ply sandblast hose. This is the absolute last thing I cut with this knife, and you see how easy it cut. Now, I'm starting off with this because I cut this shit about 4 times throughout this video, and every time I noticed I was out of frame. So I'm cutting it on frame before we ever start. This is the last thing. This is after the paper. This is after everything. And this video is 16 minutes, 15 seconds long. Y'all all will watch about 30 seconds of it. Just know that I cut a ton and the knife's still this sharp. It comes from a very good knife company. You know, guys, here's kind of the thing. You can tell a lot about people, how they deal with adversity, right? You tell a lot by a man what he goes through, but more what he goes through, because we all go through shit. We all do. We all have our shit. We're all flawed, right? It's how he handles it. The 2 men involved with me doing this knife, I have mad respect for. There's a lot of stuff goes on y'all don't know about. Y'all don't hear about it. You never do. You're blissfully unaware, and why wouldn't you be, right? This is YouTube, Knife Tube. It's entertainment. Timbo 437 is one of the best dudes in this whole knife game. He has a good channel. He's the first guy to send all kind of knives and let people check out, and good knives, solid knives, high-end knives. This is this knife here. It's just awesome, right? It's a knife made by Jacob at a very good knife company. Jacob, I have a lot of respect for. Both of these guys, because of the way that they've handled situations. Jacob was public, that he had to walk through a fire to save his business. And it was very personal, but it was public. And I gained a lot of respect for the way Jacob handled that situation. Timbo's a friend, and I respect the hell out of him. Right? So going into this knife review, I want y'all to understand that I do love knives. I always have, always will. And this knife speaks to me, but I don't always love a knife just for the knife. There's a lot of times when y'all hear the hype and the excitement because of the people who sent it, the people that are involved with it. See, I've told you a million times, this shit's real to me. If it ain't real, if it's just a fake, if this is a character, and I don't want nothing to do with the shit. I really don't. These men I respect a ton. I really do. I don't want to beat it to death, but I do for various reasons. Just know that. This knife weighs 12.3 ounces. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it is 80 CRV2. A very good knife company is a small maker. They do batch runs, but I'm pretty sure he's a custom guy too. Someone asked me if his knives are hard to get. They might be at drop time, and Jacob can kind of speak to this in the comments, but I'm pretty sure he'll make you a knife. You know, like if you see this knife on here and you're like, dude, can you make me? I'm sure he will, right? The thing with Jacob is he takes a lot of pride in his work, and you can see that. You can feel that. I believe this is 80 CRV2. When Timbo sent me the box, he named every other knife in there but this one. And if you named it, brother, I'm sorry, I missed it. It's 80 CRV2, micarta handle scales. It has an overall length of 11, let's see, right at 11 inches. Overall length, 11 inches. Blade length is 6 1/8 with a 5 3/4 inch cutting edge. We've got handle scales that are, the handle scales themselves are 4 3/4 inches long. The inner grip is going to be 4 1/2. And the 4 1/2, and the pommel is rounded. So if you have to drop your fingers off to get some better grip or leverage for chopping, you can. So any hand in the world can hold this. It doesn't matter how big. The handle thickness is right at 5/8, a little over 5/8. The blade stock that we're dealing with, and guys, when I slow up, I'm pulling these myself, and old Scab's eyes are not what they used to be. This is 3/16 inches thick. Has a nice ricasso. I like the way this knife is done. It's a drop point. It has a 90-degree spine. Now, throughout this video, I like showing the sharpness, how a knife comes. Here's another time that we cut this hose. People don't realize, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I've really thought about not cutting the sandblast hose because so few people actually know how difficult it is. But then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that because I do these as much for myself as I do anything. And this is a tough medium. And you see there, we did kind of a accordion style cut. So we didn't cut it once, we cut it twice. I've cut that sandblast hose a lot throughout this video. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that this knife came super sharp. And there's no doubt in my mind that at some point Timbo's honed it up. He has a next level hardness mentality. So it came to me really sharp, which you can do so much more with a sharp knife. A sharp knife is safer, isn't it? A sharp knife is safer. It's more handy. It's more reliable. There's a lot to be said for getting a sharp knife, and I have said this often. Some people say, well, I can sharpen a knife. But we all should be able to. From the time you carry a knife, you should be able to at least hone one up, right? That's not the point. The point is, if you're going to pay prices for custom knives, they should come sharp. That's an attention to detail. This is probably the 4th or 5th very good knife company knife that I've had the pleasure of reviewing. And trust me when I tell you guys, it is a pleasure. I've got 2 more coming this week. I'm super excited about those because they make the reviewer look good. Not all knives do, right? It's easy to use. This is a big knife, and I have huge knives. If you've watched more than 10 minutes of my channel, you know I've got some massive knives. So when I tell you this knife's big, I'm keeping it in perspective, but I like the way the handle is done. I want to give you a blade width. The blade width at its widest point is 1.5 inches. Now, I'm going to start at the top of the handle scales. It starts at 1 inch, and then it goes up to 1 3/8 inches on the actual width. So you've got a nice pommel that you can really grip. This is a big handle, but it's not an uncomfortable handle. I'm sitting here messing with it now. It's my Micarta handle scales. Again, attention to detail. The handle scales flow perfectly with the tang. It's full tang. It has a lanyard hole, but everything flows perfectly. So if I've got to use this knife a lot, and trust me guys, when I tell you in a 16-minute video, I've used this knife a lot. I enjoyed using this light knife. It's got enough weight at 12.3 ounces. You can chop with it. And I do that some. I did want to bring up too, if I've already chopped, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of bopping around playing with the knife and narrating and going through. I don't think I have, but when I chopped through the piece of pine there, I was going directly into a lighter knot. A lot of hardened resin into a lot of it. So it's not that it was super hard to chop, but we were going into a hard surface. The edge held up incredibly well. That's one thing that I always enjoy about a very good knife company. He has really good heat treat, really good edge retention. And to me, guys, listen, yes, a knife's a tool. Yes, a knife's a weapon. We're all Billy Badass. We're all going to get in a knife fight before we die. Some of us have already been stabbed, right? But at the end of the day, if I'm just being real, I like taking a knife, walking out in my front yard, finding me some sticks, and whittling for 2 or 3 hours. I'm not going to do that with a knife that's not sharp. I'm not going to do that with a knife that's uncomfortable. I'm not going to do that with a shitty knife. And price has nothing to do with it. Jacob made a knife for Tim's School of Fish, and I'll put Tim's channel in the description. The Snook. I use that knife all the damn time to whittle. He's done a couple for the Last Huntsman. I will be bringing you that review, one of those reviews, the Eagle, which I'm super stoked for. Dude, that thing is so sharp. It's going to be a blast to use. But you pick up one of Jacob's knives, a very good knife company's knife, and you go out in the yard and you just use it and you enjoy it and you don't think about, oh, this is uncomfortable. See, when you start a knife channel, or when I started this knife channel, I never realized how far down the rabbit hole I would go of using knives. I use a knife every single day of my life. Do I need to? Is it a must? Mentally, yeah. Yeah. No, I do have to find stuff to cut. Sure. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I don't cut every day at work out of necessity. I cut 2 or 3 days of work out of necessity. That's just the way the ball rolls when you're in the position I am, maintenance, etc. Right? But I make it a point to cut. And part of that, I've had to step back over these past 6 months. Part of that is actually taking a stick, like you've seen throughout this video, and just shaving it. Just shaving it. So I want a knife that's comfortable. I want a knife that'll do it. But I want a knife that I can hold on to 35, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever. When I go to Blackie's in April, I'll have knives with me. I'll sit by the campfire, and for hours I will whittle. You can ask anyone there. So comfort in hand is a huge thing for me. And I knew that segment went a little long, but I just want to hammer that home. It's not always about the mythical survival level stuff. And it's not always about work, and it's not always about killing somebody. Good God. Sometimes it's just, hey, I really like knives. I really like all knives. I'm really into some nice custom knives, and I want to go out and whittle something with it. If we're just being real about it, this is what I'm telling you right there. That shit right there, I do more than y'all will ever know. And let me encourage you to do that and use your stuff. And when I say use your stuff, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying your damn knife that your 20th great grandpa Peepaw Smith gave you. God, no. Or something you collect. I'm talking about every person should have a knife. My great grandmother was 90 pounds soaking wet. Until the day she died, she had a can of snuff and a pocket knife in her apron. And she used it. Everybody should have a knife. You would be amazed at how much you would use it. Let me get back on track. But go out and whittle. Do you know how much you can learn, how much you can teach somebody to use a knife just by shaving a stick, just by getting the nuance, just by getting the flow of the knife? And this is a knife I really, really, really love using. Somebody said the other day, let me guess you love it. Let me explain something to you, Slick. If I don't love it, it ain't on my channel. There's enough people that'll lie and tell you they're not biased. Every sumbitch on this platform, man, boy, girl, woman in the knife review game is biased. They want to get mad at me, get mad at me. You got guys that'll be negative for views. You got guys that'll be positive for views. We're all biased. I've told, their secret's out. I am not. I already work 12 hours a day. I already bust my ass. I already sandblast because a bunch of kids are too sorry to do it. I'm not going to have shit on here I don't like. I'll have a very good knife company knife on here every day of the damn week. Why? Because I love what the man does, and I love knives. And I'll be damned if I'm going to apologize for it. I know this has been a different narration of the video. It is what it is, right? I enjoy this knife. I respect the guys, Timbo and Jacob, for sending it, man. I think the world of both of them. And sometimes in these videos, man, I just want to talk to you. Right? You can watch the knife work. If you've been paying attention at all, you see that it's above average knife. If you paid attention, watch here. Whoop. Now, I left the whole damn thing in, watch. And somebody will say, Scab, hold it low, hold it low. There it is. Sometimes, guys, I wish that I might start a thing where people can just come spend the weekend with me. Now, I'll probably have to get divorced because, you know, having 1,000 people come through the house and just shoot a couple videos with me. And y'all can show me how easy it is to film this shit. It's a lot easier to sit now. I'm gonna stop. I love the knife. Here's the thing too. That whole 2x4 right there is nothing but fat wood. Nothing but fat wood. I'm scared moving along there, son. It's been a rough day. I ain't gonna lie. But here's the truth of the matter. When I look at a knife, there's a couple things I look at, right? We talked about this yesterday. Sharpness, comfort in hand, ease of use, those type of things. Will it start a fire? I do think that is an important thing. Oh, and let me say this. The berries that I was cutting up front were not strawberries. Those were pine berries. A very unique look. I just wanted to do a little slicing. I take some when they're in season every day. I love them things. They're very sweet. And just slice a couple up. I'm not a chef. I'm not a cook. I don't pretend to be. I can grill a little bit. That's a part of the game I need to work on more. But this is a very slicey, very handy knife. It's got a little more weight to it than what you think. But when you get a good knife maker, this is what I figured out. When you get a good knife maker, they can make a thicker piece of steel feel like a steak knife. And that's what this knife does. Guys, I know this has been a different one. If you made it this far and you're not mad, I love you. There was a time in this country where 22 veterans a day took their own lives. Stats are everywhere. That's why here on this channel, we focus on the number 0. See what I'm telling you right there? I messed up cutting the hose. That's why here on this channel, I focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Vets, I love you. Man, you have a place here. I back the blue. People get pissed off about it. I don't know why. I don't shove it down your throat. I ain't asking you to do it. Something I believe in. Finally, if you are an addict, and I am, you can tell I am, never quit quitting. Jacob, man, you're killing it. You're just killing it lately. Timbo, I appreciate you. Love both of you. Guys, I'm scared. You're not. And please know I love and appreciate you. Know if I'm moody or not. I'm gone, son.